Welcome to the GoGreen Expo, everybody. Just like to say a big thanks to the Vegan Society for giving us the opportunity to talk to you guys today. My name is Shamiz, and this is Shukul. And if you didn't quite catch that, I'll be S1 and he'll be S2 today. Alright, so what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about how to be as sustainable as possible through the foods you eat. We're going to look at plant-based nutrition, animal-based and plant-based. We're going to look at protein, calcium and iron, and also all the other nutrients that are required for the human body. We're also going to look at the whole food plant-based solution to sum it up and do a Q&A at the end. So we know what this expo is all about: sustainability, sustainable living, being as eco-friendly as possible. Now, apart from recycling, saving power, saving fuel, what if there was a way of being as sustainable as possible? What if that something was what you ate? Now, the reason we named our talk Get Your Nutrition by Going Green was because what you eat plays a massive role on how sustainable you can be. I want to show you a short documentary from the film Cowspiracy that talks about food and sustainability. Check it out.
Like so many of us, I saw his film An Inconvenient Truth about the impacts of global warming, and it scared the emojis out of me. I wanted to do everything I could to help. I made up my mind right then and there to change how I lived and to do whatever I possibly could to find a way for all of us to live together, in balance with the planet sustainably forever. I started to do all the things Al told us to do. I became an OCE, Obsessive Compulsive Environmentalist. I separated the trash and recycling. I composted, changed all the light bulbs, took short showers, turned the water off when I brushed my teeth, turned off lights when leaving a room, and rode my bike instead of driving everywhere. But as the years went by, it seemed as if things were getting worse. It just seemed that there was something more to the story. I thought I was doing everything I could to help the planet. I made to a report online published by the United Nations stating that cows produce more greenhouse gases than the entire transportation sector. This means that raising cattle produces more greenhouse gases than all cars, trucks, trains, boats, planes combined. I started doing more investigating on the impacts of livestock and found out the situation was actually worse than I had thought. In 2009, 2 advisors from the World Bank released an analysis on human-induced greenhouse gases, finding that animal agriculture was responsible not for 18%, as the UN stated, but was actually 51% of all greenhouse gases. 51%. Yet all we hear about is burning fossil fuels. This devastating figure is due to clear-cutting rainforests for grazing, respiration, and all the waste animals produce. This makes animal agriculture the #1 contributor to human-caused climate change. But not only that, I found out raising animals for food consumes 1/3 of all the planet's fresh water, occupies up to 45% of the Earth's land, is responsible for up to 91% of Amazon destruction, is a leading cause of species extinction, ocean dead zones, and habitat destruction. How is it possible I wasn't aware of this? I thought this information would be plastered everywhere in the environmental community. I went to the nation's largest environmental organizations' websites: 350.org, Greenpeace, Sierra Club, Climate Reality, Rainforest Action Network, Amazon Watch, and was shocked to see they had virtually nothing on animal agriculture. It seemed the main focus for many of these groups was natural gas and oil production, with fracking being the latest hot issue due to water usage and contamination. Hydraulic fracturing for natural gas uses an incredible amount of water. A staggering 100 billion gallons of water is used every year in the United States. But when I compared this with animal agriculture, raising livestock just in the US consumes 34 trillion gallons of water. And it turns out the methane emissions from both industries are nearly equal.
The meat and dairy products are incredibly water intensive, in part because the animals are using very water intensive grains. That's what they eat. And so all of the water embedded in the grain and that the animal eats essentially is considered part of the virtual water footprint of that product.
I found out that 1/4 pound hamburger requires over 660 gallons of water to produce. Here I've been taking these short showers trying to save water, and to find out just eating one hamburger is the equivalent of showering 2 entire months. So much attention is given to lowering our home water use, yet domestic water use is only 5% of what is consumed in the US versus 55% for animal agriculture. That's because it takes upwards of 2,500 gallons of water to produce 1 pound of beef. I went on the government's Department of Water Resources Save Our Water campaign, where it outlines behavior changes to help conserve our water, like using low-flow shower heads, efficient toilets, water-saving appliances, and fix leaky faucets and sprinkler heads, but nothing about animal agriculture. When I added up all the government's recommendations, I was saving 47 gallons a day. But still, that's not even close to the 660 gallons of water for just one burger. The human population drinks 5.2 billion gallons of water every day and eats 21 billion pounds of food. But just the world's 1.5 billion cows alone drink 45 billion gallons of water every day and eat 135 billion pounds of food. This isn't so much a human population issue, it's a human eating animals population issue.
Those are some alarming stats, and put your hand up if you learned something new today, because I certainly did when I watched this film. And if you want to know more about this film, please head over to cowspiracy.com. You can find loads more stats on there, and you can actually watch the whole film as well. So, yeah. So we know the environmental impact of eating meat, and the less we eat, the less it has on the environment, the less impact it has on the environment. So I want to show you some more important facts that this may not have showed you. Obviously, 51% of greenhouse gas emissions comes from animal agriculture, as you saw. But also, 1 acre of land can produce so much more food than beef. 40,000 pounds of tomatoes and 53,000 pounds of potatoes. Now that's a lot. Now, also, if you look at your water footprint on what you eat, 2,500 plus gallons of water to produce 1 pound of beef. Now that's not very sustainable, is it? If we can produce the same amount of food with less water, that's the direction we want to go in. So I hope you learned something new today, because I certainly did, and it's alarming to think that animal agriculture is taking up a lot of greenhouse gases and climate change. So I want to hand it over to my brother now, because he's going to talk to you about more on the nutrition side of things. And if we don't eat animals, what do we eat to get our nutrition?
Thanks a lot, Shamiz. As we've seen, there is a lot of destruction caused by animal agriculture. So if we need to think about being more sustainable, we need to think about changing the way we eat. We need to think about eliminating all animal products from our diet, or at least reducing them dramatically. The problem is, though, we're constantly being told that we need to eat animal-based foods for our health. What we're about to show you is that this is not the case. So who are we and what do we do? We are both plant-based nutrition practitioners who specialize in the reversal of disease and helping people get healthy through plant-based nutrition. We have been able to successfully reverse type 2 diabetes, ulcerative colitis and Crohn's, chronic acne, chronic migraines, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and much more. What's more, we do this without the use of any unnecessary medication, pills, powders, supplements, or herbal requirements, or powders. What I'm about to show you is that by just eating fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and legumes, you will have all the nutrition you require for long-lasting health. So before I get into the requirements for humans, I want to talk a little bit about where the animals we eat get their nutrition from. If we think about it logically, cows, pigs, chickens, sheep, they all get their nutrition from plants. So how about we just cut out the middle animal and go right to the source? Protein. We have some vegan bodybuilders in here, so to just show me their muscles. Protein is my favorite topic purely because of its, I guess, unimportance in the human diet. Like, how much protein do we actually need? But before we go into that, what are sources of protein? Who can tell me some sources of protein? Meats, beans, yeah, okay. Tofu, quinoa, spinach. Yes, you're actually all correct, because protein exists in every single type of food that we eat. You can't eat food without getting protein. So how much protein do we need? You might be interested to note that before you put a morsel of food into your mouth, your body actually recycles between 100 to 300 grams of protein every single day. This means the protein requirements for humans are actually very, very small. We don't need a lot of it. To give you an example, at the time we need the highest amount of protein when we're babies and we're growing into toddlers. Human breast milk only has 6% of calories from protein. That's right, 6% protein. So why would we need any more as we go into adulthood? 20 to 30 grams a day, that's about it in terms of scientific research. Okay? And a lot of the bigger health organizations will tell us that you need between 33 to 71 grams a day. That's because what they do is they put a buffer just to make sure you get enough. Now we like to measure our calorie intake in terms of percentage of total calories. We would recommend to all our clients to get no more than 10% of their total calories from protein. Okay? And that is because it is a much more objective way of measuring how much protein you're getting. What it means is that for more active people who have higher requirements for protein, they just eat more food. So they increase their caloric intake, and by default they get more protein because of that. I hope that makes a little bit of sense. So how did we get so confused? Because everywhere I look around, people are telling me I need tons and tons of protein, I need to have protein shakes, I need to have protein powders, I need to have protein bars. I think tomorrow I'll wake up and see a protein powder with added protein in it. It's a really long story, but just to give you an idea, humans don't actually get protein from the complete protein. We have to break it down into amino acids, and we need 8 essential amino acids to meet our protein requirements. Okay? So the story of how we got so confused with our protein requirements started all the way back in 1914, and it was based on some laboratory results on rats. What they found in 1914 was that rats who ate animal-based protein compared to plant-based protein grew faster. And based on that, they decided that animal-based protein was superior than plant-based protein. There's a couple of important things to note though. Rats have quite different requirements in terms of growth than human beings. A rat will reach its full adult size in 6 months, compared to 17 years for a human being. And the breast milk of rats has 10 times a higher concentration of protein than human breast milk. So it's quite different requirements, okay? And in terms of protein, it's important to note that more is not better. You start overworking a whole lot of different organs if you pour heaps and heaps of protein into your body. You don't want too little, because that means you're not eating enough food. But if you're eating the right amount of food and you're eating a plant-based diet, you get just enough, which is what's important. Here are some amazing protein facts. I'll let you mull over them for a second. Yes, our protein requirements are met by any single grain, legume or starchy vegetable. And rice and potatoes do give us enough protein to meet all our essential requirements. There was a study that was done based on people eating just potatoes for 6 months, and their blood results were perfect. In fact, all they wanted after those 6 months was more potatoes. Also, the theory you would hear about complementary proteins on a vegetarian diet, that's absolutely false, because humans can absorb or synthesize all the amino acids into complete protein chains. We don't need to have complementary proteins. So does protein deficiency exist? Absolutely not. The only way you can be protein deficient is if you're starving yourself. So you literally you have to basically not eat to be protein deficient. I hope that's kind of pushed away that myth about protein. We don't need a lot of protein at all. Who can tell me where we get our calcium from? Milk. Yes, there's calcium in milk. Cows? Cows do have calcium, yes. Kale, I hear kale in the back. Bok choy, absolutely. Well, the important thing to note about calcium is that it actually comes from the dirt. It's a mineral. So when animals eat plants and other bits of dirt, they get calcium inside of them. And yes, you can get calcium in certain foods. Okay. How much calcium do we need? It's actually been found that humans have been able to adapt to eating 150 to 200 milligrams of calcium a day. That's actually a really small amount. If you look at a lot of the Western dietary guidelines, they'll recommend well over 1,000 milligrams a day. That's way too much calcium. You don't need that much. If you're aiming for between 300 to 500 milligrams a day, which is about the exact amount you get from plant-based foods, that's enough. The other thing I hear all the time is I need to drink cow's milk or have dairy for strong bones. Is that actually true? Does the science support this? Well, it doesn't, because when we reviewed 57 different studies, what we found was that 57% of them showed no significant benefit to cow's milk for human bones, and 14% of them found that dairy products actually harm the bones. Okay? And this is actually because of the acidic nature of animal protein. When we consume animal protein, it turns our blood acidic, and our body needs to buffer against that. What it uses is calcium from our bones, it puts that into our bloodstream, and then we excrete it through our urine. So generally when we're eating lots and lots of animal protein, we end up having a net loss of calcium. And as I'll show you, the populations that drink the most or have the most calcium in their diet also have the highest rates of osteoporosis and hip fractures. I know this goes against what everyone gets told, but this is the cold hard facts. And if we look at fractures per 100,000 people, how much calcium do New Zealanders have? We're leading the way, guys, not in a good way. All right, who's heard of someone that had a disease due to calcium deficiency? Anyone? I haven't. It doesn't really exist. The only known form of possible disease due to calcium deficiency is called rickets, and even scientists aren't aware of whether it's actually due to calcium or because people don't get enough sunshine. Even they're a little bit confused about it, and it's impossible to get unless you're in a malnourished country. Let's move on to some of the other nutrients. Okay. So what I want to show you with this slide is the difference between animal-based foods and plant-based foods in terms of the total nutrition you get. I'm not going to go into every single number here because you've actually got that in front of you, I'm sure, in a handout. But in terms of some of the more important things, how many people do we know that are on cholesterol-lowering medications? Lots, correct? Well, here's an idea of how to reduce your cholesterol. Don't eat it. Plant-based foods have no cholesterol in them, okay, compared to animal-based foods that have a lot. Fat, we need to be reducing our fat intake, and plant-based foods have a lot less fat. And the big one, protein, exactly the same. Okay, you're not missing out on anything by eating vegetables compared to eating animals. Going to move into fiber. Did you know that 97% of the Western population doesn't get enough fiber in their diets? It's one of the most important nutrients in terms of how our digestive system works. No wonder there's so many people with digestive issues in the Western world. Calcium. More than double the calcium that you get from plants compared to animal-based foods. And this table does include whole milk. We move on to iron. As you can see, plants have 10 times as much iron as animal-based foods. You see everywhere on TV that you need to have red meat for iron. It's not the case. There's a difference between the two types of iron though. Plant-based iron is called non-heme iron. Your body has the ability to regulate that iron in your digestive system. So when you eat it, your body decides how much of the iron it needs from that food and it'll absorb it. The rest of it will discard. With the blood-based iron, which is called heme iron, your body has no regulation or ability to regulate against that. So you absorb all of it. And the same as protein, too much iron is not good for you. you might have seen like you get rusting and things like that. Kind of similar stuff happens inside your body. It's not very good for you. Okay, and finally I want to talk about vitamin C. This is a vitamin that the human body cannot synthesize, which means we do not make it internally. There are other animals that synthesize vitamin C, which means they don't need to survive off plant foods because they produce it within their body. However, humans don't, and as you can see, plant-based foods win by a long way compared to animal-based foods. In fact, if I look through that whole chart, it's a hands-down victory for plant-based nutrition. There is no requirement to eat animal foods. So what do you do now? What's the solution? Well, it's really easy. You move away from animal products. You move away from refined foods. Things like oil, which creates a clotting factor inside your blood. Things like lots and lots of refined sugars, lots and lots of refined flours. You move away from that and you eat whole foods. And Shamiz, who's going to demonstrate for me here, is going to show you what whole foods are. We've got bananas, we've got oranges, corn, kiwi fruit. So basically food in its whole form, okay? We want to avoid the packet stuff. We want to be eating food as it's naturally made for us. And it really is that simple. That's all you got to do for long-lasting health. Eat enough food and eat the right types of food. Right, so I know I've given you a lot of information here today, and some of it you might find hard to believe. I know I did when I first found out about this 2.5 years ago. I was like, you can't be serious. I need my meat. Not anymore. I have a challenge for you. Okay? And we'll be passing around an iPad where today we're giving away a free 30-minute consultation for anyone in this talk who wants to talk about their health further with us. Okay? I have a challenge for you. Do it for a month. Try a whole foods, plant-based diet for a month. Before you start, get your blood test done. And after a month, do your blood test again. You will see better results in your blood tests. Okay? Those of you who are on medications due to chronic disease, things like type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, will find that you'll be able to reduce your medications, or you might not even need them anymore. It's that powerful. It's actually proven to be more powerful than any medication ever studied. Okay? So that's all I have for you today. I hope you found that interesting. And I'd really like to thank you for taking the time to come and listen to us talk. Thank you.